Day of is today, besides Martin Luther King Day?
Besides Martin Luther
Yes.
King, probably something serious. Civil Rights Day, something like that.
No, it is serious. It's National Popcorn Day.
Oh, that's very serious.
That's very
Very
serious.
serious.
I am a popcorn connoisseur. Are you a popcorn fan?
I like popcorn, but I'm not like hardcore. Like my sister and my father, they are very hardcore. But I do enjoy a good popcorn when I go to the movies every week. Yes.
You know, there was a year when I went to college where I survived on popcorn. I mean, literally.
Now, was it microwave or was it you
Oh
were
no,
baking it in the pan?
that's sacrilegious.
Oh,
you don't
oh.
microwave it. Drew, are you a big popcorn fan?
Not so much popcorn, but caramel corn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got a sweet tooth on that one. So
Interesting.
there's a couple ones that I really like, and you know what? Believe it or not, when they have the plaza, there's a guy down there, and I'm just having a space on his name, but he does really good caramel corn. And he's down in the plaza during when they have the art show.
I am the popcorn connoisseur in my family. I am the one that always makes the popcorn. It's tradition. And I'll give you guys a little secret to make the best popcorn. When you melt your butter, just squeeze some lime in there and then stir it in real good and then put that on your popcorn. I have requests from people to make popcorn for them. So, I mean, that is kind of a big deal for me.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, this is almost like my birthday.
What kind of oil do you use? Because I've heard you use coconut oil.
No, you got to have something that has a high flash point.
Okay.
You know, because you want to get that popper really popping and go good. My mom used to make popcorn almost every night for my dad the old way. You know, just in the kettle on the stove. But
Yeah.
yeah, popcorn's a big part of my life. I mean, what kind of a life do I really have when popcorn is that big for me, right?
You got your priorities straight. That's
I do.
all.
Absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
Who has the best popcorn in town then that you can buy?
Boy, you know, I will buy white popcorn,
Mm-hmm.
just the cheapest version. It's all about how you pop it and how about you put the butter on it, and of course the little lime trick I think does it
Okay.
for me. Yeah.
So not like Harkins or not,
Yeah, you
No?
know, they're okay. They're
Oh,
okay. And microwave popcorn, as you mentioned, that's just a non-starter.
It's a non-starter. You
It's a
just don't even do it.
non-starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
So-
who has decent popcorn? If you haven't had, believe it or not, True Value on Saturday,
I have had.
and they use I think they use canola oil.
It could be, and that
But they do a pretty good job because on Saturdays usually I'm doing a project. You walk in, you grab a little bag, and you do your thing.
that's the great thing about True Value, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just it gets you going. That's for sure. They do a great job. Well, I'm really excited today. I have a guest that's a long time friend of mine, and Kelly Cordes, and he's brought the boss in, Patty, to keep track of him, I guess. Which, knowing him, he probably does need a little bit of keeping track of. Anyway, Kelly, a longtime Prescott resident, and I'll just start by, Kelly, tell us a little bit, or tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. Grew up here. I'm a fourth-generation Cordis, but I'm the only fourth-generation Cordis not born in Arizona. I was born in Nebraska. It's all my dad's fault. And but we moved to Prescott, back to Prescott in the summer of 1959. Grew up here, went to elementary school, junior high, high school, and then went away for a while. And then Wayne Howe, who was the athletic director at the time at Prescott High School, asked me to come back and take over the baseball program for a while.
And I think weren't you you were a baseball coach in Baghdad, correct?
I was actually the basketball coach and the athletic director in Baghdad from 1980 to 85.
Excellent.
I still have warm feelings about Baghdad. You just can't appreciate that which you do not know. And I said growing up in Prescott, every now and then we'd play a couple baseball games, when I was 13, 14, 15 years old over in Baghdad. And I told myself, I'm never going to live here. Well, that tenure of my life taught me to never say never.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just in Baghdad like 3 weeks ago, and I hadn't been there for 25 years. It's changed quite a bit.
It has changed a lot. It has.
Yep, and I think I understand you were pretty instrumental in building that baseball field there.
That baseball field is there. I have to say, with all humility, it's there because of me.
Excellent, excellent. And Kelly's also another important part of Prescott in the sense that, Elizabeth Ruffner told me something a long time ago I've never forgotten, and that is that everybody's a historian, right? Kelly takes it to a different level, but, that's so important to our history and our heritage and in carrying that forward. And Kelly does a great job. You do a lot of, I think, speaking to different groups.
Yeah, I spoke last week to the Sons of the American Revolution at the Hacienda Hotel, and I'll be speaking at 11:30 this week on Thursday, again at the Hacienda Hotel to the Kiwanis Club.
Excellent. And that's kind of what I want to focus our show on today is a little bit of the history of Prescott. I want to talk a little bit about softball history, City Field, Ken Lindley Field. I mean, I think we'll go a lot of different directions with this, but mainly kind of the history of Prescott, which I think is really important that we maintain and continue forward. And thank you for what you do along those lines. So I think, let's go ahead and just get started. Let's talk a little bit about City Field or Ken Lindley and your memories and the softball history in Prescott.
Well, if I had a quarter for every hour that I spent on that field in my life, I'd be pretty wealthy. Of course, in my day, it was known as City Park. And then, unfortunately, in September of 1971, the Prescott police chief, Ken Lindley, was killed in a car accident over in Clarkdale. Very good friend of my father's, and I thought it was very appropriate. The next year, the city council voted to change the name of that field from City Park to Ken Lindley Field because Ken was doing a lot with summer baseball, did a lot of volunteering in Little League, and in those days we had Babe Ruth baseball at the 13, 14, and 15-year-old levels.
Yeah, I think, and I didn't know Ken Lindley. He passed before I got here, but I did know his wife, Karen, and it's great Prescottonian as well. But, yeah, my understanding is Ken Lindley, Bill Valley Sr., those were some of the more key figures in Prescott Little League. Of course, Bill starting the Little League here in Arizona in 1950, I believe.
Yeah, actually, he started the first Little League team, I believe, in 1949 here. And then went south and got Phoenix going the next year in 1950.
Yeah, so a lot of history there, and a lot of these gentlemen that really helped build Prescott. Ken Lindley working with the youth and all of that stuff. So appropriately named. I remember when I was the parks director, I had some photos in my office of probably from the 1940s, where they had leather helmets at least, playing football there.
Yeah, I believe the first year that Prescott High School started playing football at what was then known as City Park was the fall of 1952. They had previously been playing at the fairgrounds on dirt.
Okay.
And then from 1952 until about 1967, I know the first year that the present high school was built, the football field was not ready, and so for another year they played games at Lindley Field, and then I think it was the fall of 1967 was when the first football game was played at the present site.
I was really honored, I guess is the word, when I was the parks director when the high school field was going under some repair and they needed to play, I think, 3 home games in Prescott, and the field wasn't ready. We put them over at Ken Lindley, and it was interesting. I think you were there, but we can only kick field goals one way,
right,
into the skate park. But what a beautiful thing to kind of come back to all of that. And I was really privileged to work with Missy Townsend in Prescott High School to bring that to fruition, and felt really good.
That brought back a lot of memories for me. We played a lot of football games on that field, not only varsity games, but junior varsity and freshman games as well. That was the athletic hub of this whole area for a long time.
Yeah, definitely, and still a beautiful facility. It's I think it's one of the things too that when people drive through Prescott for the first time, of course they see the Courthouse Plaza, and that's all pretty interesting. But also when you drive by that green space that is Ken Lindley Field, it makes you feel welcome. It makes you feel home.
There's been a lot of great athletes. I think it was about 2007 when they had a flu epidemic up in Flagstaff, and the Cardinals elected not to go up there for their training camp, and they came to Prescott. And I know they did a number of activities. The Cardinals did on Ken Lindley Field.
They did, and I remember watching the practices, and believe it or not, Calais Campbell, who's still playing in the NFL, was there, because I remember looking at him going, he's bigger than all of the big guys. I mean, this is a big dude, and he's still playing that many years later.
And also, I remember, Emmitt Smith ended his career with the Cardinals, and I remember going over to one of the practices and seeing Emmitt Smith on Lindley Field.
Yeah, and that was one of those things, too. It was last minute. I remember just everybody rushing to try to get that put together and getting that field ready. And a good thing for Prescott. It was good for tourism. It was good to kind of see that, make the Cardinals feel like Arizona's team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
So that was interesting. A lot of good athletes as well. I understand Jim Palmer played baseball with the Baltimore Orioles, played high school baseball here.
Scottsdale High School, which is no longer in existence. I think they tore Scottsdale High School down in the mid-'80s, but Jim Palmer was going there, and Scottsdale and Prescott were in the same league. And so for a couple years in a row, my dad was the baseball coach. We saw Jim Palmer pitch. Also, a couple years before that, we hosted the state Babe Ruth tournament up here about 1961, 62, something like that. And Palmer pitched for the Scottsdale Babe Ruth All-Star team. So he pitched several times at City Park in those days, now Lindley Field. But we knew he was going places. And by the way, I would rank Jim Palmer maybe one of the top 5 high school athletes all time in Arizona. He was not only a first-team All-State baseball player, he was first-team in All-State in basketball and football. He was a quarterback. And by the way, he did get a few letters when his senior year from a guy by the name of John Wooden at UCLA.
Oh, really?
That's how good he was.
Interesting. And would Jim Palmer have been around the same time as John Denny?
No. Denny graduated in 70. Palmer graduated, I believe, in 64. So Palmer was about 6 years older than Denny.
Okay, but definitely a lot of good athletes that have come through and spent time at Citi Field or Ken Lindley, as we call it.
Oh, a lot of great athletes, and it's the place when Yavapai College baseball started in 1970. That's where the Rough Riders also played.
I did not know that. That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Because I do remember the stories from Bill Valley Sr. and others that worked at the city at the time at building Rough Rider Park or building the baseball field that Yavapai currently plays on. It, my understanding, it was a big hole, and they just filled it in, and that's the baseball field.
That was the guy that filled that hole in. The guy responsible for that was A.C. Williams.
Yeah.
And A.C. Williams, Bill Valley told me one time he didn't think he would ever meet somebody who could get blood out of a turnip till he met A.C. Williams. He says the man could do less, he could do more with less than anybody he ever knew.
Well, and that was one of the things when I became the parks director for the city of Prescott. Obviously, I knew AC. I played a lot of softball here, but I just absorbed everything about AC because I have such admiration. You talk about squeezing blood out of a turnip. He had surplus Navy, Jeeps, and I mean, it was on a shoestring. In 1957, when the Parks and Rec Department was created, and A.C. Williams did that. He got the most out of the least.
And, of course, A.C. Williams is in the National ASA Softball Hall of Fame. And I had to look him up this last summer when I went back to watch the College Softball World Series, because right next to the stadium is the college, or not the college, but the National Hall of Fame Museum. And AC's picture and short bio of him is posted in there.
Excellent. I remember I always tell this A.C. Williams story when I was playing softball here that had rained the night before, and so Saturday morning I show up and AC's in the score booth, and I walk in, and of course you open the door and the smoke comes rolling out. And I said, so AC, are we going to play today? And he goes, yeah, if you get your ass down there and start getting some water off this field. And that's how I learned the hose trick, right? Where you drag the hose instead of getting out on the field and putting footprints in it. You take the big hose and one guy gets on one end and the other and take the water off the field. So a lot of admiration for AC Williams for sure. That's
I've spent some time bailing water off not only the softball field, but at one time the baseball field. Spent quite a bit of time bailing water off that field.
no doubt. And we'll get into that a little bit too, because you coached also baseball at Prescott High School.
Yes.
So we'll get into that and maybe a little bit more of the softball history when we return after this break. Joe Baines, honored to sit in for the esteemed Leza LaChapelle.
Wow, esteemed
Dandos.
Leza.
Esteemed.
Wow.
Although I'm still a little burned about that not coming in on Friday thing because of the food. We
Just
talked
show
about
up.
this.
It's fine. I mean, Barry brings plenty.
Yeah, well, like I say, I want to come in through the front door. I want it to be about me, Matt.
I got it.
Okay.
Well, and the thing was, is this past Friday, Barry brought in food. We sat here and ate it, and he didn't even talk about it. It was hilarious.
Hey, I'm okay with not talking about it.
I was fine with it. It was delicious.
Barry, if you're listening, never mind.
Yeah, come on by.
Yeah, come on.
Joe's hungry.
Yeah. Well, I'm with my guest today, Kelly Cordes, and he brought Patty along. Patty is going to, I guess, keep track of Kelly. A little bit about Patty. She just told me she's been interviewed by Lester Holt. So, who's Joe Baines when it comes to Lester Holt? You know, she's been there, done that. So, thank you for being here. Thanks for keeping track of him.
Thank you.
He's a good man. He's a treasure. He's a Prescott treasure. We want to make sure we take care of that.
Boy, you're going to make my head swell, Joe.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think, you know, Elizabeth Ruffner was a big part of my life. And when she told me that everyone's a historian, She was correct. We all have memories we need to share, and it's really great to have somebody with a mind like Kelly has, which is just photographic. And, I'm just envious of how you can retain all that history.
Well, when you teach in the area for 33 years and grow up here, I got the opportunity to be very repetitive. And, that's the great thing about remembering things is repetition.
Yeah.
And when you repeat things a lot, it sticks in your mind.
Yeah. There's more to it than that, but okay,
Yeah.
I'll take that explanation. I wanted to talk a little bit about the softball history in Prescott. I know I was always amazed, and I didn't move here till 1984, but really kind of in the days before air conditioning was really popular, and Ken Lindley Field, or at the time City Field, would have 1,000 people.
I would say more than that, especially when the Skull Valley Skunks played A and B sign. It was Gary Denny against Jerry Christofferson, the two pitchers, Christofferson for the Skunks and Gary Denny, John Denny's older brother, who was a really good softball pitcher for A and B sign. There would be as many as 3,000 people showing up at Lindley Field for
And
those
the
fast
population
pitch.
of Prescott at that time?
15,000.
Yeah.
And I'm talking the whole area. You probably had maybe 1,000 people out in Chino, maybe another 1,000 in Prescott Valley, and that was it. And everybody knew about those games. And the 4th of July tournament that AC started in the early 60s, by the end of the 60s and early 70s, if you were a fast-pitch softball team that won that tournament, you had to be one of the top 4 or 5 teams, not just in the United States, but in the world. Give you an example of what I'm talking about. For about 6 years in a row, which would be late 60s, early 70s again, as a tune-up for the World Tournament, A.C. Williams invited the New Zealand national softball team here. The highest they ever finished in that tournament was 3rd. And I can still remember on several of the games that New Zealand played in, those games were broadcast on New Zealand national radio. That was a huge tournament and drew huge crowds over the 4th of July weekend. And we always look forward to watching some really good fast-pitch softball.
What was the story I heard? The name escapes me, but the guy that toured the country, that was the big
Eddie Feiner and the
There you go.
king in his court.
Tell us that story.
Well, I think about 1969-70, AC had Eddie Feiner come in. And in 1969, really one of the best fast-pitch softball teams in the world was Hayes Roofing out of Phoenix. And anchored by Jerry Wells, who was the father of Jim Wells, who longtime school administrator here in Prescott. And, of course, there was no way those 4 king in the court guys were going to beat Hayes Roofing, and they didn't. So Eddie Feiner told AC, he says, I'll come back if you have me play against just a local all-star team. He comes back the next year, and AC had Hayes Roofing back out on the field. So Eddie Feiner and the king in his court, even though Eddie Feiner was a great pitcher and had all kinds of tricks, he never won a softball game in Prescott, Arizona.
And just for a little context for the listeners, it's a little bit like the Harlem Globetrotters, right? They
Right.
go around and they play a local team. Well, I guess Eddie didn't know what he was getting into with Jerry Wells.
Well, with the 4 players, you had the pitcher, they put a guy at short, a guy at first, and the catcher. No outfielders.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, Feiner was so good, could throw a great rising curveball and throw a great drop. Most people could not hit that pitch. And there's a story, I don't know how true it is, that he struck out a number of big-time Major League Baseball players in an exhibition So he was the real deal. First time I ever saw him was on ABC Wide World of Sports.
Really. So I can attest to that. That I played baseball in high school, and I thought I was a fairly good baseball player. I came out here and played some fast pitch, and that ball moves so much. I remember another Aussie, Stony Burke. I hit against Stony Burke. I hit a foul ball, and to this day, that's the highlight of my fast pitch career. I hit a foul ball off of him.
Yeah. Oh, but there's been a lot of great pitchers throw at Lindley Field, including Jenny Finch. Yeah,
That's right.
I forget the year, 2003, 2004, when the USA softball team came up here, coached by Mike Candrea, the longtime Arizona softball coach. They came up and played a couple exhibition games up here before I think 2004, the summer games were in Athens.
Yep. I had some photos of that with Jenny Finch, and there's a lot of history there. Well, we're going to take another break, but I'll be back with my guest Kelly Cordes right after this break. Today, and happy to be doing that. I'm with my special guest, longtime Prescottonian, historian, former high school or teacher at Prescott High School, helped produce some of these fine Prescott upstanding citizens that we have today, Kelly Cordes. Kelly, we were talking a little bit about Ken Lindley Field and some historic type things that have happened there, and you were mentioning something about a classic football game.
Well, in about 1960, there was in high school sports in Arizona, it went from Class A, B, and C. There were just 3 classifications. And then they created another classification for the schools with the most enrollment, AA. And Prescott got into AA, and we were one of the lower enrollment schools in that division. So it was AA, A, B, and C. Well, I can tell you, from 1960 to about 1964, Prescott did not win a football game. And I can remember Flagstaff had a really great running back by the name of James Dugan. And he broke around right end and was just running down the sideline. And, of course, the ball had been at about the Flagstaff 20-yard line. And I remember a guy by the name of Bob Fortner coming off the bench and just nailing Dugan. Came off the sideline. Of course, they gave Flagstaff the touchdown and penalized Prescott on the kickoff. But I still remember as a kid seeing Bob Fortner come off the bench and tackle James Dugan.
That's funny. It's a little Woody Hayes, right?
Exactly.
Remember?
And by the way, James Dugan, I don't know the full story, was recruited by Woody Hayes out of high school.
Oh, really? Well, that right there must have been a good little chalk mark for him.
Yes.
Tackle from the sidelines. Excellent. You know, Kelly, I also know you were the high school baseball coach at Prescott High School for a number of years, and I was curious, you know, you've seen a lot, and you broadcast Badger games to this day, and I had the privilege, I don't know if it's a privilege, but I sat in the score booth with your dad when he kept score for all these games. Amazing, you know, I mean, up until he was, 90, how he could carry on a conversation with me and at the same time announce and keep, balls and strikes and outs and all that stuff. Just amazing. But I know with your time with Prescott High School and your time with the baseball field, who in your time was some of the better players that you saw come through Prescott High School?
Well, I would have, I'd have to rank Jason Pridey as probably the best baseball player ever at Prescott High School. But not far behind him would be a guy by the name of Roy Stringer, who unfortunately about 18 years ago passed away of a heart attack. Roy was really a good baseball player. Played 2 years at Yavapai, and then went on to UTEP and played 2 years at UTEP. I used to kid Coach Brock, the longtime ASU baseball coach, because I do know in Roy's junior year and senior year at UTEP, he beat the Sun Devils. And so I used to kid Coach Brock. I said, Coach, you probably should have recruited Roy Stringer. And he says, yeah, I probably should have.
I remember.
And another one's Jim Wells.
Yeah.
Great hitter.
Yeah.
Who went on and played at University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV. And he had a good teammate while he was there, and by the name of Matt Williams.
That's right. I remember that. Yep. Jim's a good guy. Still play golf with him occasionally on Friday mornings. They have a group that goes out there and good Prescottonian. But yeah, a lot of good baseball players that have come through. Good baseball program for sure. I watched Jason. I remember in Little League and just thinking to myself, if this kid can't play Major League Baseball, how high is the bar set?
Yeah.
And I also remember the state playoff game. I was camping out at Lynx Lake, and for some reason they decided to pitch to Jason Pridey in the state championship game. Can you kind of recap that for us?
Well, we got into the bottom of the seventh inning, and I think we were playing Tucson Sabino for the state championship, and we were down a run. It was 3-2. And I could not believe, with one out, with a runner on second, why they would pitch to Pridey. He had already had 2 extra base hits in the ball game. And they pitched to him, and he hit a ball right down the right field foul line, left-handed hitter, and tied up the ball game. And so the game went into extra innings, and then 2 innings later, with runners on first and second, Pridey came up again and hit the ball out of the ballpark at Phoenix Municipal Stadium, and the Badgers won the only state baseball championship. That was 2002, and that was a great night.
I think that ball is still traveling. I mean, the radio, listening to it on the radio, it was just magical. I remember it.
Oh, I mean, once the ball got up into the air a little bit, there was no doubt it was gone.
Yeah. So a lot of great history there with all of that, and continues on today. And back to your broadcasting and working with John Rust, I'm really happy to see that KYCA has stepped up and continued to carry those games. They're really important. We have a really good girls basketball team this year. I know you guys covered the game last week, was it?
Last Wednesday, the Badger girls beat Flagstaff 46-40. It is the first time that Flagstaff has lost a Grand Canyon region game in 11 years.
I heard
they had won over 100 straight games. And, Flagstaff has always had a good girls basketball program. In fact, Flagstaff's won 2 out of the last 3 Class 4A state championships. So,
well, good for the Badgers. I'm really happy to see
that.
Yeah,
we definitely have one of the better Lady Badger basketball teams all time.
Excellent. Well, we're going to take another break, but we'll be right back. Please call if you would like to, 928-541-1016. Thanks. Back. My name is Joe Baines, sitting in for Leza today. And other than Martin Luther King Day and National Popcorn Day, it's also an important and maybe solemn, but not really. Cal Cordes, Kelly's dad, passed away on this day a year ago at 96, 97.
98.
98, yeah. And Cal's, the Mount Rushmore of Prescott would have Cal's face on it for sure, right?
He was born at the Old Mercy Hospital over on Grove Avenue, which is where Prescott College is today, on December 15th, 1926.
Wow.
So if he was still alive, he would be not quite. He'd be 99 today.
Yeah, no doubt, and contributed so much. I mentioned this here Monday. We did a remembrance show, people that have passed in the last year, and I have so much admiration for educators because there's nobody here that can't raise their hand and at least name one or two that were inspirational to them in their youth that they carry through to this day. And I'm sure Cal is that for a lot of people. I'm sure you are as well. But let's share a little bit more about Cal.
Well, I've been asked several times how much of an influence my dad was on me, and my reply is I am what I am because of him.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much says it all. Very close. I had a very close relationship with my father, which as I get older, I'm very appreciative of because not everybody has that. And anytime we got together, which was often over the last several years, we would reminisce so much that we actually lost track of time.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of Prescott stories, and of course him growing up down in the Cordis Junction area, that just added to all the stories of Prescott.
I know I always enjoyed any time I spent with him, and when I was the parks director, I'd look out my window and here comes Cal, and I'd go, it's going to be a good day. And he was just a wealth of knowledge. I would ask him about things in the past, and he's just a photographic memory. I mean, all the way up to 98 years old.
He was with it right up to the end, last day. He really was. I was very fortunate that he was with it as much as he was. And, of course, you had a hand with him in building the horseshoe courts out at Watson Lake. And then, he did a lot of volunteering for Prescott High School, keeping score for freshman and JV and varsity baseball games. I guess that's why his name's on the press box.
Yeah, deservedly so. I was telling the story on Monday about Cal when he built the temporary horseshoe courts just by the left field fence at the baseball field as you drive into the school. So every morning before school, he'd open that up so the kids could learn how to play horseshoes. And just deliver bread, right? Day-old bread. He's in there. He'd find out, do you need some bread? And he'd go around, deliver it. I mean, what a good human being.
Well, he was very close friends with John Blair, Steve Blair's dad, who had the Wholesome Bakery distributorship in town. And it just seemed like he'd go by the Wholesome warehouse and grab bread, and John didn't mind at all. They were that close, and because John knew what he was doing with the bread.
Yeah.
But Dad just had he had a lot of irons in the fire in the Prescott area. My stepmom used to say, "Now there's a man that does not leave a stone unturned."
Very true. I remember a beautiful remembrance service at Prescott High School, obviously well attended. But I know my takeaway from that was really simple, and that is, in your life, just do good things. It's not that hard. Just do good things. And Cal, just that rippled all the way through his life. He just did good things.
He led a life of service.
He did.
And that has had an impact on me.
Yeah. And again, back to the educators. I mean, how many young men and women did he, inspire over the years? It's probably countless.
Well, the first name that comes to my mind when you say that's Lou Benetton.
Ah.
Lou will tell you that his first mentor went after he graduated from NAU, and Lou's first teaching job was in the Prescott School District, and he retired from the Prescott School District. He was a mentor at Prescott Junior High, or he taught at Prescott Junior High, and his mentor was my father.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Lou on his own, a great Prescottonian, and influenced a lot of people in a positive way, and that's what educators can do. I told the story on Monday a little bit too, and I want to make sure I got it right. But I understand there was a young man on a motorcycle as your father was coaching, I think, the 8th grade football team that was a menace to the practice. Mm-hmm. And what happened?
You know, I'm not. You might know. You might remember that better than I do.
It may
Joe.
have been Cal that told me this story then, or somebody, Dave McCormick. It might have been Dave McCormick. But anyway, he let the guy buzz around a few times, and before he finally went, okay, enough is enough, and he picked up a football, and as the kid drove by on the motorcycle, perfect spiral, knocked the kid off the bike, and that was the end of that. Practice resumed. That's the old school way.
Well, there were some other things, especially when he was coaching football. You know, Dad being 6'5" and one of the strongest men I'd ever been around, and without any pads on, he'd get down and show the linemen how to block. And so, yeah, there's a number of stories like that.
And he played basketball in Colorado College. somewhere?
Colorado State College at Greeley, which today is Northern Colorado University, played there from 1948 to 52.
Yep. And 6'5", that was a big man back then.
In those days, yeah. And he just had he used to tell the story during the summer. He'd play AAU basketball on a team called Coors in Denver.
Ah.
And the head of Coors would come in and take him out to dinner from time to time. You know, we're talking about the founder of Coors. I'm trying to remember the name right
Adolph
now.
or
Adolph Coors, thank you. So he got to know him a little bit.
Yeah. Wow. What a great guy. I remember Little League, you know, when I was, and Kelly, you and I were involved on the board at the same time with Prescott Little League. And if you remember, we were trying to gain some area up there, and we had a bunch of dirt we needed to get out of there. And I remember your dad got a backhoe from the school.
Mm-hmm.
I got a backhoe. I think at the time I was working in that industry, and we just started bucket by bucket. I'd pass your dad, he'd pass me. We did that for 2 days straight, moving all this dirt out. And that is today where the memorial for Bill Valley is, as well as the coverings, the ramadas that people use there today. Before that was just a big hill, which your dad used to police on every Little League night. You damn kids, get off that hill. You're going to get hurt. And that voice, right? Yep.
Yeah, I can still hear him.
Yeah.
I can still hear him up until a year ago. He'd call me just about every morning and say, son, what's on the agenda for today?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we're going to take, I believe, our last break. But if you have any memories or thoughts you'd like to share, please give us a call, 928-541-106, and we'll be right back.
Real
Welcome back, everybody, to Leza Live. This is Joe Baines, your stand-in host today. I'm with my good friend Kelly Cordes, and we've been talking a lot of sports, a lot of history, Prescott history, sports history. I'd like to talk a little bit about basketball. We've talked a lot about softball and baseball, but basketball. And I know, Kelly, when you played in the early 70s, you guys had some pretty good teams. Tell us a little bit about that.
Graduated in 73, and especially the early 70s, 70, 71, 72, 73, we had some really good ball clubs. And we were playing Class AAA, which would be the equivalent of Class 6A now. And we would consistently win 21, 22, 23 games a year. In 1970, we won the Skyline region, and we had a big center by the name of Baird Forrest. And then his family moved to Bandon, Oregon, and I've always wondered if, because Baird was only a sophomore that year, and I've always wondered how good would we have been if Baird would have stayed in town. Even with him leaving after his sophomore year, in 1971, we still went 23-3, and Baird went on and won a national NAIA national championship at Grand Canyon College in those days, and then went on and played several years for the Phoenix Suns.
And was that in the same era? Wasn't there a McCormick?
Bruce McCormick.
Bruce McCormick was a big guy, too.
Bruce McCormick was on that 1971 team, and he was the main reason we went 23-3, and had another guy that was an administrator out in Chino Valley, Grant Turley, was also on that team. And then in 1973, I still have nightmares of a game played in Veterans Memorial Coliseum. We played number 1 ranked Maryville and lost to them by 4 points in overtime. And Maryville went on and won the state title.
Interesting.
And I still dream about that game.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
But we had some good teams, and we would play in the top teams in the state.
Excellent. We're going to take a caller right now. We have a caller, Myra, on line 1. Myra.
Hi, Kelly.
This is Myra Musgrove, Pemberton.
How are you?
Am I correct on that?
Yes, you are.
Thanks for calling in.
I've known Kelly his pretty much whole life. I loved his dad. I adore Kelly, and I am so appreciative that your station does stories like this so that all of us can enjoy wonderful memories.
Yeah, thank you, Myra. He is kind of a treasure. That whole Cordes family is a blessing to Prescott, and as are you, Myra, and your husband, Jim. You guys have contributed a lot over the years, so thank you.
I have to interject. Myra used to babysit me a little bit.
Oh, really?
Isn't that right, Myra?
Yes, long time ago.
Long time ago.
One of my favorites. So, but it's such a joy to hear you over the radio, and I just had to call in and tell you that.
Well, good to hear your voice.
Yeah, thank you, Myra. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a grand day.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
you too.
as well. We're kind of wrapping things up here, but Kelly, I tell you, it real quick, I think we have enough time. 30-some years you did the Washington trip with the kids in your class. That's got to be some memories there.
Well, we took a lot of students back to the East Coast. Just to give a brief summary, we went to, usually I would have 20, 25 students, and we're talking middle school students, 7th and 8th graders. And we'd go to D.C., we'd go to Philadelphia, go to New York, go to Boston. Some years we'd go south to Richmond and Charlottesville, and
we could have gone for another hour, Kelly, but thank you for being here. Patty, thank you for being here. Matt, thank you. And thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.